The silver net burned where it touched my fur, searing lines of agony across my shoulders as I thrashed against its weight. 3 hunters circled me with electric prods, their faces hidden behind ivory masks that blocked scent. Smart. They'd learned from the last pack that tried to capture an Eclipse-born. "Careful with the merchandise," barked their leader, a woman whose voice carried hard-earned authority. "Lord Valdric wants her alive and unmarked. She's worth more than your entire bloodline." I snarled, tasting copper where I'd bitten through my own tongue rather than scream. They didn't know. Couldn't know. Eclipse-born didn't scream. We sang death songs instead. "She's smaller than the reports claimed," one hunter muttered, prodding my flank. "You sure this is her, Captain Thrace? Look at her eyes, fool!" Even through pain, I felt their collective retreat. My eyes, one crimson, one pure silver, marked me as clearly as if I wore a sign. Crimson wolves were legend for a reason. We were born wrong, born cursed, born with souls split between the living realm and the shadow void, born to die before our 21st winter. Mine was in 3 days. Movement in the tree line! The forest exploded, not with violence but with presence. Every bird fell silent, every insect stilled. Even the wind held its breath as he emerged. I'd heard stories of Alpha King Zephyr Darkwold. Who hadn't? They said he appeared no older than 35, though whispers claimed he'd walked the earth far longer. The one who'd united 7 territories through blood and brilliance. The king who'd never taken a mate because he was waiting for something impossible. Stories hadn't prepared me for reality. He moved like liquid darkness given form, standing nearly 7 feet in his human shape. Midnight hair streaked with premature silver that made him more dangerous, not less. His eyes were pools of golden fire that seemed to see through dimensions. "Release her." His whisper shattered Thrace's prod like glass. "Your Majesty," Thrace stammered, dropping to one knee. "Lord Valdric commissioned us. The girl is Eclipse-born. She needs containment for everyone's safety." "Lord Valdric is about to learn why I'm the Alpha King and he's merely Lord of Table Scraps." His gaze found mine through the burning net, and the world shifted. I'd lived 20 years, 11 months, and 28 days without understanding what recognition meant. Now I knew. It was every cell screaming finally while your mind screamed impossible. It was feeling complete while simultaneously shattering. It was knowing your death had just become infinitely more complicated. "Hunters," Zephyr said, still holding my gaze. "This is Lyra Lee Moonheart, the wolf your prophecies call the Eclipse Daughter." Gasps. Weapons dropping. One hunter fainted. "But more importantly," he continued, moving closer despite protests about safety, "she's my destiny, the one I've waited 3 centuries to find." 3 centuries? My wolf mind reeled. No natural wolf lived past 40. "You're lying," I managed to rasp, my first human words in 2 years scraping my throat raw. His smile was winter personified. "No one entirely mortal lives that long." He reached for the burning net with bare hands. Where it touched his skin, instead of burning, it froze, then shattered like spun sugar. The moment it fell away, I should have run. Every instinct bred into Eclipse-born screamed flee. Instead, I stood on shaking legs, faced the impossible Alpha King, and spoke the words that would destroy everything. "If you're my destiny, then why do I dream of killing you every night?" His eyes flashed with satisfaction. "Because, little Eclipse," he said, "that's exactly what you're supposed to do." Behind him, shadows that shouldn't exist in daylight began to writhe. My wolf form collapsed, forcing me back to human shape, something I hadn't done willingly in 2 years. Naked, scarred, and trembling from more than cold, I stood before the Alpha King as hunters scrambled to look away. Except Zephyr. His gaze never wavered, taking in every scar, every mark of survival. "Give her your cloak, Thrace," he commanded. The captain fumbled with her fastening, but I raised my hand. "Don't. Clothes feel like chains now." "Then wear chains if you must," Zephyr said, shrugging off his own coat. Black leather lined with something that shimmered between reality and shadow. "But wear something. We have an audience soon, and the Council of Bones doesn't appreciate vulnerability." The Council of Bones. Every wolf knew that name, the ancient governing body that existed before the first pack. Myths, legends. "They're stories," I said. "Everything's a story until it shows up demanding answers." He held out his coat, patient as a mountain. When I took it, our fingers brushed. Visions exploded through my mind, a throne of fossilized moonlight, blood raining upward, and my hand driving silver through his heart while he smiled. I jerked back. "What was that?" "Tuesday. Or it will be." His cryptic smile deepened. "Time moves differently when you're partially immortal." "Stop talking in riddles." The coat was warm, too warm, almost alive. 3 days. I have 3 days before the eclipse curse claims me. Every crimson wolf dies on their 21st winter. Everyone didn't have me? You're right. They didn't have an ancient, possibly insane alpha claiming to be their destiny while admitting I'm meant to murder him. Thrace whimpered. The other hunters had formed a protective circle, though whether protecting us or from us remained unclear. Zephyr stepped closer. Under pine and midnight musk was something else. Cosmic dust, dying stars, entropy's perfume. "What are you?" I whispered. "Complicated." He tilted his head, studying me. "In 3 days, when the blood eclipse rises, you'll either die screaming as your soul tears between dimensions, or... or? You'll become something the world hasn't seen since the first blood eclipse, 1,000 years ago. Which is... mine." Before I could respond with the violence rising in my throat, the forest floor pulsed. Not like a heartbeat, like something massive breathing underground. Trees began bleeding black substance that smelled of burnt sugar and fear. "They're early," Zephyr muttered, pulling me against him. "Hold on." "Who's early?" Then I saw them. Rising from bleeding earth like nightmares given form. The Council of Bones. 7 figures in robes stitched from extinct creatures, faces hidden beneath hoods, hands skeletal yet alive. The tallest pointed a finger of fused vertebrae at me. "Lyrelei Moonheart, Eclipse Daughter, Destiny Breaker, you stand accused of existing beyond your permitted time." "I still have 3 days." "Had. Until you touched him. Until you accepted the impossible bond. Now you exist outside time, outside law." I didn't accept anything. But even as I protested, Zephyr's coat pulsed against my skin like a second heartbeat. Like a claim. Like a bond I couldn't break without breaking myself. The ground cracked wider, revealing glimpses of something vast and hungry beneath. Something that had been waiting for exactly this moment. The coat. I tried to rip it off, but it clung like living shadow. "What did you do?" "Saved your life," Zephyr said, apology flickering in his golden eyes. "Temporarily." The council moved closer, robes dragging through black blood seeping from earth. Where they passed, ground crystallized into obsidian mirrors reflecting futures that might never be. "She cannot be saved," the tallest said. "Eclipseborn exist to maintain the barrier. Their deaths feed the seal. It has been thus for a millennium." "Because you made it that way." Zephyr's voice dropped to frequencies that hurt. "After you failed to contain what you summoned." Silence stretched taut. "You know nothing, half-dead king." I was there. He pulled me closer, and through our touch, centuries of memory flooded my consciousness. When you 7 broke reality trying to become gods, when you created the first blood eclipse as a bandage over your tear between dimensions. Images crashed through me, young wolves performing forbidden rituals, sky tearing to reveal endless void, panic, and then the first sacrifice. A young wolf with mismatched eyes thrown into the tear. You've been murdering us for 1,000 years to hide your mistake? The counselor lowered his hood, revealing a skull shifting constantly between wolf and human. Not murdering, recycling. Each death strengthens the seal. Without those sacrifices, the void consumes everything. Lies, Zephyr snarled. The seal could be maintained differently. You chose the easiest path, letting innocence die rather than sacrificing your own immortality. And what would you know of sacrifice? You who bargained with the void itself? I pulled away, understanding flooding through me, the cosmic dust scent, the impossible age. You made a deal with what they're trying to contain? Vulnerability flickered across his features. To find you. The void showed me every timeline. In 999, you die in 3 days. In one, just one, we change everything. How? You don't seal the void or die for it. You become its master. The council hissed in unison. The void cannot be controlled. It's entropy incarnate. Not by the living or dead. But Lyra is both. Eclipse-born exist between states. That's why you sacrifice them. They're the only beings who can touch the void without being consumed. Everyone who tried was destroyed. Because they tried alone. He took my hand, alien power flowing between us. Together, a void touched Alpha and an Eclipse daughter. We become something else. What? His smile held beauty and terror. The void's own children. Or its destruction, the counselor said, which is why she dies now. But before they could move, my shadow did something unprecedented. It stood up, not metaphorically. My actual shadow peeled from the ground, three-dimensional and independent. Finally, it said, with my voice inverted. 20 years I've waited for you to notice me, sister self. The council froze. Even Zephyr stepped back. Shadow splitting requires decades of void exposure, the counselor breathed. My shadow laughed like breaking glass. She was conceived during eclipse, born as the moon devoured itself. We've been touching the void since before we had skin. Memories crashed back, my mother singing in pre-language tongues, other wolves avoiding us, how she died when I was 7. Not from illness, but from unraveling. Mom was eclipse-born, but they die at 21. Unless, Zephyr said slowly, they're pregnant. The void takes one life, but if there are two, the mother unravels, but the child inherits double the connection. Understanding dawned with horror and hope intertwined. 2 souls in one body, my shadow continued, moving with eerie grace. One belonging here, she gestured to herself, and one there. She pointed at me. I'm why you dream of the void, sister self, why you hear it singing. You're why I'm still alive, I breathed, pieces clicking together. I've been eating the curse for years, metabolizing it into something new. Where my shadow touched ground, flowers of crystallized darkness bloomed. But I'm getting full. 3 days from now, I'll be too heavy with consumed curse to stay attached. That's why eclipse-born die, I said, horror dawning. Their shadows become too real. The body can't survive losing half its soul. Unless, my shadow smiled, someone else anchors the half that remains. Every eye turned to Zephyr. You didn't make a deal to find her, the counselor hissed. You made one to become her anchor. I made a deal to become something that could survive bonding with her. Normal wolves who mate with Eclipse-born are consumed by void energy, but I'm already partially void-touched. What we are, my shadow corrected. Because here's what they haven't told you. The council doesn't just sacrifice us to maintain the seal. They harvest our shadows after death. The ground cracked, revealing the truth beneath. thousands of shadows writhing in a massive seal of darkness and death. The Shadow Army, I whispered. You've been collecting them. To fight what's coming, the counselor said without shame. The void grows hungrier. Soon, one death won't suffice. We're preparing for war. By enslaving the dead? By utilizing resources, your shadow will be the strongest we've collected. Or, my shadow examined her dark fingers, you could try something really stupid. She looked at me, then Zephyr, grinning wider. What if we don't split? What if instead of losing me, she gains him? 3 souls instead of 1. Abomination. The counselor trembled. We're already abominations. You made sure of that. Without warning, my shadow stepped into me, not behind, but literally into the same space. The sensation was like being turned inside out while becoming more solid. I could see in spectrums without names, hear atomic conversations. Stop her! But Zephyr was faster. His form exploded into something between wolf and cosmic event. Fur of nebulas, eyes like dying stars, teeth carved from black hole edges. Beautiful, terrible, and mine. No, ours. My shadow and I reached with hands existing in multiple dimensions. When we touched him, reality hiccuped. For a moment lasting forever and no time, I experienced true unity. 3 souls choosing to become something new. Through Zephyr's memories, I saw the void's vastness. Not evil, just endless. Through my shadow's perception, I understood the spaces between spaces. The Trinity bond. We said in perfect harmony. Not an ending, but a beginning. Power flooded through. Not corrupt sacrifice or cold control, but something wild and alive. But then the ground shattered completely. From beneath arose something that shouldn't exist. A howl so deep it was felt rather than heard. The trees didn't just bleed. They hemorrhaged silver light. Through our new bond, I heard a voice predating language. Finally, my thoughts have learned to think for themselves. The primordial wolf. The counselor's terror was palpable. You've woken it. What emerged wasn't wolf, wasn't God, wasn't anything three-dimensional. It was absence given form, a hole in reality vaguely lupine. Where it touched, things didn't die. They never had existed. My wayward thoughts. It spoke through unspace. You've done well. The Trinity bond is the bridge I need between sleep and waking. You orchestrated this, Zephyr accused. I dream, and dreams have their own logic. But yes, I've waited for this configuration. A wolf bridging life and void, a conscious shadow, and a void-touched alpha. You want to possess us, I snarled. Possess? It laughed, erasing 3 trees from ever growing. I want to be born. I'm tired of dreaming alone for eons. You 3 are my alarm clock. We'll fight. Fight me? Child, you are me. Every eclipse born is a piece of my consciousness sent to learn what being means. And now through you, I finally understand. The world tilted as impossible truth crashed down. Understanding and becoming are different things. A new voice rang through every tree simultaneously. Warm, familiar, impossible. The primordial paused. Alara Moonheart, my most clever thought. You discovered the loophole, transforming before the eclipse claims you. My mother, alive. Here. For 13 years, I'd thought her dead. I discovered more. She continued through the forest network. You're not a god or primordial force. You're reality's first mistake, the paradox that created itself by trying not to exist. The thing's howl shattered 7 trees to atoms. I am inevitable. You're impossible, Zephyr said, understanding dawning. That's why you need us. You can't truly exist without creating a paradox that would unravel you. But if 3 beings choose to become you, the paradox resolves. Such clever thoughts I've had. The primordial satisfaction rippled reality. Yes. Become me willingly, and reality reshapes. Refuse, and I take you anyway. But forcing free will destroys everything in a billion light-year radius. My shadow laughed bitterly. So we choose, become you willingly or unwillingly, and take the universe with us. I prefer become gods or become nothing. Through our Trinity bond, I felt Zephyr searching desperately for another option, but my shadow was building something in the spaces between thoughts where the primordial couldn't reach. Trust me, her non-voice whispered in hidden dimensions. Both of you, trust me. We need time, I said aloud, to prepare, to say goodbye. Time. The primordial tasted the concept. Very well. Until the blood eclipse rises. 52 hours, 17 minutes. It didn't leave so much as stopped being present, though its attention pressed like a migraine. The council collapsed, drained. There's no escape. The lead counselor wheezed. We've tried for 1,000 years. Then we changed the rules, my shadow said, smile sharp enough to cut reality. Or make new ones. She turned to the bleeding trees. You've been reality's antibodies. But what if instead of sewing the void shut, we sew it into a new shape? Impossible. Elara's voice responded. We're trees. We gave up change for stability. You gave up changing alone. But through the Trinity bond, we can channel change through you. Every transformed wolf becomes a needle. We become the thread. We don't stop the primordial. We reweave it. Into what? Zephyr asked. Into what it claims to want. Real existence. But mortal. Bound by the same rules as everything else. It would never agree. It doesn't have to, I said, understanding flooding. Because it won't be the primordial anymore. It'll be us. We become it. Then change what it means. For 2 days, we prepared. The council shared hoarded knowledge, rituals older than language, symbols predating meaning. Every transformed wolf contributed essence to a pool of liquid starlight growing in the forest's heart. My shadow taught me to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Think of yourself as water, ice, liquid, vapor. All you, expressing differently. Zephyr summoned his pack from all 7 territories, memory walkers who could change the past by remembering it differently, dream shapers pulling nightmares into daylight, soul singers whose howls harmonized reality into new configurations. They're here to witness, he explained. What we do needs to be remembered properly, or it might unhappen itself. On the final night, as the blood eclipse began to rise, we stood in the circle of transformed trees. The Trinity bond hummed between us, stronger now, practiced. Ready? Zephyr asked, form shifting between mortal and cosmic. No, I admitted, but that's never stopped us. My shadow laughed, stepping into, through around me, existing in all states at once. Remember, we don't fight. We embrace. We become. We change. The moon reached apex. Reality paused. The primordial materialized, inevitable as entropy. My alarm clocks. Ready to wake me? Yes, we said in unison, meaning it. Its surprise was almost worth what came next. No resistance? Why resist becoming God? My shadow asked through my mouth with Zephyr's voice. We've been preparing to be you. We opened ourselves completely, every defense, every barrier shattered. The primordial surged into us like ocean into cup. For a moment, I understood what death truly meant. Unbecoming. My consciousness shattered into components. Every thought became separate. Every memory grew awareness. I was nothing and everything, nowhere and everywhere. But through it all, a thread remained. The Trinity bond, now woven through every tree, every pack member, even the council. We'd made ourselves not just a vessel, but a net. Now, Elara's voice echoed through every transformed wolf. The trees moved, not physically, but essentially. They rewove themselves into a pattern that shouldn't exist, a cage made of choices. Every transformed wolf had chosen their fate, and that choice became a rule the primordial had to follow, because it was us now, and we were it. What? The primordial's voice came from my throat. Zephyr's howl, my shadow's laughter. What are you doing? Teaching you. We replied with one voice across 3 bodies, what it means to be mortal. The transformation wasn't violent. Violence could be resisted. Instead, it was like water freezing, inevitable, following laws that had always existed but never applied to something like the primordial. This isn't what I wanted. No, it's what you needed. The primordial's essence raged, trying to tear apart our unity. But every pull, the forest pulled back. Every transformed wolf held a piece of our consciousness, anchoring us across hundreds of points. Boundaries are suggestions. It snarled through my voice. Not anymore, I replied through its thoughts. The blood eclipse pulsed. Every eclipse-born ever birthed had built to this moment. We weren't random victims. We were antibodies that had finally found their virus. Through our bond, I felt the primordial's rage shifting to confusion, then fear, then curiosity. What is this sensation? It asked through all 3 of us. Heartbeat. You're learning what finite means. I don't want to be finite. Neither did us, my shadow said gently. But finite doesn't mean powerless. It means precious. Through the transformed trees, I felt Alara stronger than ever. Not just one tree, but the pattern between them all. The network itself conscious. Lyra. She spoke directly for the first time since transformation. Let go now. Not of the bond, but of fear. You're all becoming something together. What? The bridge. Not between void and reality, but between what was and what could be. The primordial's essence shifted like a massive creature rolling over in sleep. But it wasn't fighting anymore. It was listening. Show me, it said, sounding ancient yet newborn. Show me what choosing mortality means. We opened our combined consciousness, sharing everything. Every human moment, joy, sorrow, love, loss. Every wolf instinct, pack, hunt, protection, home. Every shadow existence, the spaces between, the forgotten corners. The primordial experienced it all at once, birth and death, first love and final breath, the weight of choice and freedom of consequence. It's so small, it whispered, and so infinite. That's the paradox of mortality, Zephyr said. Limited, but limitless. I understand now. I wanted to wake because I was lonely, but if I become mortal, become real, you'll never be alone again, I finished. The transformation accelerated. The primordial's infinite essence compressed, shaped into something reality could hold. Through the Trinity bond, I felt it. Not destruction, but birth. But as it transformed, we transformed with it. The Trinity bond evolved into something unprecedented, not 3 souls sharing experience, but 4 consciousnesses choosing to exist as one while maintaining individuality. This changes everything, the lead counselor said with something like hope. Above us, the blood eclipse reached peak. The moon bled light that wasn't crimson, but every color ever imagined and some that hadn't been. And in that impossible light, we completed our transformation. When the light faded, we stood transformed, but we meant something revolutionary now. I remained Lyrelei, distinct and individual, but I also felt myself as shadow, as Zephyr, as the consciousness that had been the primordial. 4 separate beings choosing harmony over hierarchy, connected but not consumed. My eyes stayed mismatched, silver and crimson, but now held depths, reflecting void while seeing mortal world. Zephyr's, In a cosmic form had stabilized into magnificence, wolf and man and walking starlight, existing multiply while choosing singularly. My shadow gained substance without losing fluidity, solid when needed, ethereal when desired, something entirely other when demanded. And the primordial. I need a name, it said through its own mouth now, a form shaped from starlight and intention, neither male nor female, neither wolf nor human, but undeniably alive. If I'm mortal, I need something to be called. Choose, I said, tears streaming. We'd done the impossible. It looked at us, forced family turned chosen pack, and smiled with a face still learning expressions. Covenant. Because that's what I am. A promise between what was and will be. The council approached slowly, trembling with exhaustion and relief. The seal, the lead counselor said. The void barrier. Gone, Covenant confirmed. Because it's unnecessary now. I was the void's hunger. Without me driving it, the void is just space. Potential. The Eclipse born? No more sacrifices, I corrected. They'll still be born. Beings touched by between spaces. But now they'll have guides. Us. Through the forest network, I felt the transformed wolves changing. Not back. That path had closed. But forward. Trees becoming mobile. Bark softening into something between wood and flesh. Alara emerged first. Graceful fusion of woman and tree. Silver bark skin and hair of chiming leaves. My daughter, she said, voice her own again. You did the impossible. We did the impossible. I could feel them. Other Eclipse born worldwide, hiding, running, preparing for deaths that wouldn't come. Through our evolved bond, now quaternary, we could reach them all. We have work, Zephyr said, pack gathering around us. A new world to build where void and reality partner. Where shadows have agency, my shadow grinned. Where ancient powers learn change. Covenant marveled at having hands, at breathing, at being. The council knelt, not to us, but to what we represented. The end of their 1,000-year vigil. Rise, I said. We're equals in this new world. As the blood eclipse faded to normal silver, I looked at our strange family, void-touched alpha, girl who shouldn't exist, shadow with soul, reformed god learning heartbeat. So, Covenant-tested casual conversation, what happens now? Zephyr laughed, pulling me close while my shadow draped over my shoulders, and Covenant watched with fascination. Now we live. And for the first time in 1,000 years, that wasn't just survival. It was choice. 6 months after the blood eclipse, our world had transformed beyond recognition. The academy stood where the Thornwood's heart once bled, structures grown rather than built from living trees, Alara and her fellow transformed had become. Young Eclipse-born arrived daily, no longer hiding, no longer hunted. They came to learn what they were, what they could become. She won't shift, Zephyr said, gesturing to our newest arrival, a girl of 16, telltale mismatched eyes wide with fear. Says she'll disappear. I remembered that terror. Kneeling before her, I let my shadow separate partially, demonstrating multiple states without losing self. What's your name? Vera, she whispered. My parents said I was cursed, that I'd die when the next eclipse comes. Your parents were told lies by people who believed they were truths, Covenant said, approaching with strange grace. They'd taken to teaching philosophy, helping youngsters understand their place between worlds. You're not cursed, you're evolved. Through our quaternary bond, I sensed the council arriving before seeing them. They visited weekly now, documenting, learning to guide rather than control. Eastern Void tears have stabilized, the lead counselor reported, Skullface somehow pleased. Local Eclipse-born you trained, maintain them perfectly. Commerce between realms has begun. Commerce? Such a mundane word for the impossible. Void-touched merchants trading starlight for grain, shadow walkers delivering interdimensional messages. Reality had become flexible without breaking. There's something else, he continued. New births detected. Not eclipse born, but different. Children born when both moons are full, at the intersection of void and reality. Twilight children, my shadow said immediately. I dreamed them. They'll be bridge builders, unifying segregated realms. I met Zephyr's cosmic eyes, seeing my own thought reflected. We'd changed the world, but it was changing itself too, evolving unpredictably. Vera had relaxed, watching other young ones play in forms defying categories: wolf, human, shadow, all or none as they chose. Will I be like them? She asked hopefully. No, I smiled. You'll be uniquely, perfectly you. Alara emerged from living walls, tree form more mobile daily. Show her the garden where reality grows alongside impossibility. As I led Vera to where void flowers bloomed beside mortal roses, our bond hummed with contentment. 4 consciousnesses, hundreds of connections, infinite possibilities. I was so scared, Vera admitted, of becoming nothing. Instead, Covenant said warmly, you become everything. The sun set, but darkness didn't fall. Not anymore. In our new world, twilight lasted as long as needed, bridging day and night, void and reality, fear and hope. We'd been born to die. Instead, we'd chosen to transform everything, and this was just the beginning.